addition to that, say you even had this third party scenario somehow came true, third parties always govern in coalition. So even this dynamic of moral purity that you somehow think will magically be bestowed upon you if you didn't deal with the Democratic Party as like some type of metaphysical entity will always happen, because then you're in a European scenario and you're the left party and you got 5% of the vote and you're going to build a coalition with who? Same dynamic. You're going to go into partnership with somebody that you don't like. That's literally how it works. It's completely inescapable if you're talking about electoral politics. And the second point, I just want to add really brief to Button. I have been looking at, Brazil a lot recently, obviously, and one of the things that the right used in Brazil was they actually leveraged anti-austerity protests in 2013 and sort of migrated it to a broader, quote unquote, like anti-corruption politics, which was weaponized to only focus on left parties. So this also like free floating, like
drain the swamp
morality, the fucking corruption. We already have a case study where it is literally a useful tool of a fascist movement in Brazil.
People ask me why you think this creates apathy and disempowers the left. Because if you follow this line of thinking to its logical conclusion, you are basically locking yourself in a basement. You follow this line of thinking to its logical conclusion, you are basically locking yourself in a basement. You follow this line of thinking to its logical conclusion, you are basically locking yourself in a basement. You follow this line of thinking to its logical conclusion, you are basically locking yourself in a basement. There is no, look, it's one thing to say, ugh, I had to watch AOC say that she was going to vote for Andrew Cuomo and support his candidacy in the general. It made me nauseous.
We turned into a comedy bit.
But I get why she's doing it. End of story. But when you basically say that any way that the left empowers itself through electoral politics is inherently corrupt and worth disdain and worth walking away from, an indication that nothing will ever good will happen, all you're doing is disempowering the left. That's all you're doing. You're doing nothing else. And it's really, really dangerous if it was to be, I'm not convinced that it's not dangerous now, frankly.
What's up, people? This is Crimson 60620, and as you saw with the previous clip, this is the video that I've guessed is starting to become part of the crusade like Coach Red Pill, where I'm talking about Jimmy Dore. And so we're going to actually look at the start of this grift. And if you guys can actually follow along, we can actually see what's going on. And we're going to actually do more of a play. And I'm going to occasionally pause it and talk about it. But we're just going to actually just watch and sit back and just do a review about this video and my feelings. And, well, we do have the benefit of hindsight and how history actually went to actually say, Jimmy, you're fucking wrong. But here we go.
I did, in fact, I should say, before people start freaking out. I did invite Jimmy on last night, and he said he couldn't make it. Apparently, he can. He was just driving around.
So this is in the run-up to the 2016 election. This is well after Jimmy Dore has actually just had bitch fits about the establishment and the DNC and how he hates Hillary Clinton. And, like, it's funny, he went from hating Hillary Clinton to hating Nancy Pelosi, but nothing talks about Trump. You never see him talk about Trump in a way other than, oh yeah, he's good because he's gonna own the libs. But let's continue.
That's all he was doing.
Hello, Jimmy Dore, irresponsible journalist. How are you?
You have no idea how applicable that sounds.
Are you on the 405 right now?
I'm on the 10. I'm texting and I'm watching a TV show at the same time while I'm driving. That's how reckless I am.
I was going to say irresponsible driver as well. All right, Jimmy. So
Yeah.
I mean, what's your response? I haven't gotten to the other parts yet. But
No, I think, but first of all, Sam, just because you've been right up to this point doesn't mean I'm still not pissed off at you.
Now,
I
you
mean-
guys hear,
but we had this debate.
you guys hear that he says Sam has actually been right. And the thing about it is, it is one of those things where, you know, you see it. It's like, I get it. Jimmy needs to save face, but let's continue.
And to watch this, I find, I mean, it really is upsetting to me. Because
Now, I disagree.
Go
Let
ahead.
me just say, your point about the Supreme Court. My position on the Supreme Court is that right now, like you said, he's not your first choice. I'm with you on that. I'll just say this: right now, the Republicans aren't even giving a guy who they called a perfect choice. Right? They loved him. Right? Orrin Hatch said he'd be the best choice, and then they won't even give him a hearing or a meeting without batting an eye for a year. This is the argument we had before. So why wouldn't the Democrats, let's say if Donald Trump nominates a maniac, why wouldn't they say, no, why don't you nominate Merrick Garland?
well, Jimmy,
And
this was the next thing
And
I
then-
was going to get to. I understand.
Listen to this.
You're
Listen to
saying,
this,
why
guys.
can't the
Okay.
Democrats do this?
Right.
You said on the tape here that the Republicans are filibustering. They're not filibustering.
No, they're not filibustering. That was you correct. You corrected
The
correctly on that.
Democrats,
They're not.
The Democrats, there is no one who has ever even speculated that it's possible for Donald Trump to win the presidency and for the Democrats to take back the Senate. Those two things cannot happen.
Right.
And so
And mind you, I get it. I know we're going at this from the perspective of, you know, the past. We know what happened. But you see when he brings this shit up, Jimmy Dore is like, he's never thought that this shit would happen. But let's continue.
Democrats don't have the ability to not provide a hearing for Donald Trump's nominee. There's no way the Republicans are going to go 4 years without a hearing on. They can maybe get away with this with Obama, and they can play out the clock for 6 or 7 months because there's a huge presidential election going on, so the media has been distracted somewhat. But I can tell you that in January, there's only going to be one story. Maybe there'll be two. One will be how if Hillary Clinton's the president. One will be how the Republicans are threatening to shut down the government again. And the other one will be they're refusing to hold hearings for her nominee. And that will just go on and on because there's not going to be anything else that's going on. It's going to be a fundamentally different media era. So I don't think they're going to be able to hold out for 4 years. And Democrats certainly wouldn't be able to hold out for 4 years because they don't believe in the destruction of the Senate as an institution in the way that Republicans do.
Now, mind you, listen to this fucking hackling hyena. Sit back and laugh like, you're being afraid. Like, and he literally says this, but let's listen to some more.
And frankly, I'm glad about that.
Okay, so you don't. So here's my theory. I'll just give you my theory: is that if the Republicans can do this to a guy like Merrick Garland, that they've already said is a great justice, for a whole year without batting an eye and paying no political price for it, I say the Democrats will be able to filibuster someone that Donald Trump nominated, and then in 2 years, the Senate, in my opinion, it would flip to Republican just because of. I agree with Chris Hayes when he says that if Donald Trump becomes president, it's the destruction of the Republican Party, and Paul Ryan is not going to usher any of his crazy policies through the Congress. So they fracture, and the Senate flips to Democrat, They were saying it was almost going to happen this year. But,
yeah, but
that
you
is
know
gonna
the
switch
difference
to-
between, I mean, Jimmy, surely you know the difference between how many Senate Republicans are running for re-election this year versus 2 years
Right.
from now, right? You,
Right.
you know the
Yes.
difference,
Yes.
right? We have 2/3 of the race is our Senate's, are Republicans up for a race. And in 2 years, we have 2 times the number of Democrats who are up for re-election. So
Right.
the
And like this whole shit about him saying right, he didn't know that shit. He didn't understand this shit until Sam Cedar brought it up. Fuck, let's go.
idea of the Democrats taking back the Senate in 2018 is an extreme long shot. The idea that Paul Ryan may not pursue any of Donald Trump's crazy legislation, but he will pursue Paul Ryan's crazy legislation, and Donald Trump will surely sign it. Why wouldn't he?
Hence the 2017
so-
tax cut.
So,
Back
so
to
you're
the
going to let
Supreme-
Paul
back to the
Ryan?
Supreme
Would you
Court.
want Paul Ryan to be president? This guy wants to privatize Medicare. He wants to privatize Social Security. He wants to cut any type of social safety net. He wants to get rid
Okay.
of the estate taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, why is his agenda any better than Donald Trump's? Even if you believe Donald Trump is not even going to do anything except for sign legislation, that's bad enough.
Yeah, Sam, we're on the same side most things. I'll just
No,
disagree
but
with
Jimmy,
you.
no, wait a second. No, we're not. Because
What are
politically,
we
And this is what this is the thing. This is how some bullshitty ass babies first getting into election type type motherfucking LARPers actually act. This is literally what is being talked about, not some establishment politics. This is the real realities of the ground when it comes to politics. And what did we see happen? The 2017 tax cuts. We say all these laws, and the only reason why more Republican laws didn't get passed as much as it did is because at some point, some of the Democrats grew a spine and they eventually won the 2018 elections. But you saw the shit. You saw those tax cuts get pushed through. You saw all this other shit get pushed through. And the only thing we told this motherfucker, people told Jimmy Dore about this shit before, but he was still pushing rah, vote for Trump. But let's continue.
I mean, except for Hillary Clinton and the Supreme Court. We disagree 100% on that. And I think that if Donald Trump is president, it's way worse for the Republicans. And if Hillary Clinton is, I agree with Chris Hayes when he says Hillary Clinton is good for the Republican Party and Donald Trump is bad for it. I agree with him.
I agree with that too. But in the meantime,
I agree with that
we
too.
have a Supreme Court that is going to be moved to the right for generations. In the
I disagree
meantime,
with you on that. I mean, you haven't given me an argument that rebuts what I said. That the Democrats could easily filibuster any bad appointee, and they could say, hey, until you give us someone as good as Merrick Garland, we're going to keep filibustering this.
And you know what the fuck happened? What the fuck happened was, as soon as that new Senate was elected, Mitch McConnell got rid of the filibuster for not just some judicial appointments, but all. All they had was all they needed was 51, and guess what happened? Not just one, not just two, but 3 fucking Supreme Court justices. But Jimmy hasn't actually came back and said I was wrong. This is 2016, mind you. But let's continue.
And all we have to do is do it for 2 years. And my proof that they could do it is that the Republicans are doing it to a guy like Merrick Garland, who they already said they like, without batting an eye for a year. So I just disagree with you on this, Sam, on the Supreme Court. I just disagree.
and what
with you.
about when Justice Breyer or Justice Ginsburg pass away or retire?
Yeah, I mean,
So they're going to
we'll cross
filibuster.
over-
They're going to prevent 2 vacancies from being filled. And then you think, based on that in the context of American society as you know it, without a presidential election going on, that the Democrats are going to retake the Senate, even though they have twice as many people up for re-election.
I mean, Sam, did you think that Hillary Clinton was the stronger candidate than Bernie Sanders against the Republicans?
No.
And no one did. But again, he still hasn't answered the fucking question. What are you going to do with the political reality that we have to live through if you're wrong, Jimmy? But let's continue.
You didn't? You always thought Bernie Sanders was a stronger candidate than Hillary Clinton against the Republicans?
Yeah. I mean, particularly against Donald Trump.
Oh, I thought I had you on that one.
This is exactly what it is. It's about, I thought I had you. I'm scoring points. Not fucking actually winning the motherfucking argument. It's about scoring motherfucking points.
God damn it. So I was trying to impugn your forecasting ability. I'm saying I don't agree with that forecast. You know, you're saying, what if there's 2 justices? What if there's 3 justices? I'm saying as it stands right now, the Republicans aren't even giving a hearing to a guy they say is great for a year. Why can't the Democrats do the same thing, Sam? Why can't they filibuster a bad justice?
Well, I don't know. Why can't I fly? Because I don't have wings. I mean, the fact is, Jim.
Now, mind you, I'm trying not to pause it as much, but mind you, Jimmy Dore's main conceit is that the Democratic Party is weak, it's corrupt, it's shifty, all this other good shit. But he wants them to stand up for at least 2 years. At least 2 years. On a filibuster. Let's continue.
I mean, is that you are taking, I mean, the what you're talking about, there's no, you're just positing things to happen that is like, you know, it's like dropping a marble down a pachinko ladder and just saying like, well, if it hits here and it hits there and it hits there, it's going to land here. But the fact is, none of those things can logically follow each other.
I 100% disagree with you.
Well, I know that.
What do you say about the point that Chris Hayes made and Ben Howe made from Red State? They're both in agreement that they're telling Ben Howe is telling people, his conservative friends, to vote for Hillary if they care about the safety or the life of the Republican Party and the conservative movement. Because if Donald Trump is president, it wrecks it, and they won't be able to get a governing majority. He said for maybe decades. So you can vote for Hillary Clinton. I'm going to vote for the destruction of the Republican Party, as according to Chris Hayes and Ben Howe.
Well, I think Chris Hayes would tell you to vote for Hillary Clinton. And
I
Ben
know,
Howe,
but he's going against his own logic.
I don't think he is. I suspect that maybe you're just misinterpreting what he's saying. Do I think that Donald Trump is bad for the conservative party? I mean, the conservative movement?
Yes!
I think he's bad for the conservative movement, whether he wins or loses. Is it bad for the Republican Party if he wins? I'll tell you what happens if he wins. What he wins is like people like Ben Howe lose. They lose their job. But there are other people who win. And those people will continue on, and they will just continue. It's not like the Republican Party is going to say, oh, what's become of us? I mean, look at the way they're reacting now.
Yes, I agree.
And mind you, for the last 4 years, except for when they clashed, Donald Trump was the best gift to fucking Mitch McConnell. Best fucking gift. But let's continue.
So in my idea, just let me clarify that idea of people coalescing. I mean that if Hillary Clinton is president, like right now, Barack Obama's president, he's pushing the TPP, which you pointed out, a lot of Democrats are against, right?
Right.
Yet there's a chance he still might get it through, which is why he's pushing for it, because he knows there's a chance.
Well,
so
he wants it to go through. That's why he's pushing it. He knows that it's in trouble. That's why he's having to work so hard. And frankly, I think that I think there's plenty of evidence that it's not going to happen, at the very least on his watch.
Yeah, that's good news, right? So,
yes,
So my point is, he helped split the opposition. Like the Democrats are like, wait a minute, my Democrat president's for this. This is some horrible right-wing policy, though. That's what I've been told. But he's for. So it split. If it was a Republican proposing this, all the Democrats would coalesce.
No, that's not how Republicans work. Republicans are more in line to fall in line. It's the way that their brain pattern works, and I know it's pseudoscience, but it's the way that it's more structural, hierarchical, versus Democrats who are less likely. And I'm not saying that they don't do it as well, but that's just the way the structures of the parties work. You don't have people in the Democratic Party that just want to fall in line just to fall in line. You have craven people that fall in line for power. But in the Republican Party, it is more people that will fall in line because they just think that's the natural order of shit, and they would actually fall in line also for craven reasons. But it's not as in depth as you can't give the Republicans that, because that's not the way they think, fucker. But let's continue.
All the independents.
If it was a Republican proposing this, it would have passed already because they control both houses of Congress, and it would have passed.
And he laughs at this point.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. My theory.
Do you refute that?
Do I refute that it would have already
If the
passed
president,
if
if it was George Bush or Donald Trump right now, and you had a Republican Senate and a Republican House, that the TPP wouldn't pass? The reason why the TPP is not going to come up for a vote in the lame duck session is because it's Obama trade.
Right. So you're saying the Republicans don't want to be seen going along with anything Barack Obama does.
Right.
Wow.
So you're saying that a Democrat pushing the TPP is not as bad as a Republican pushing the TPP, so we should vote Democrat.
Well, I don't think Hillary Clinton's going to push the TPP.
Honestly?
Yeah. I think it's too toxic for her at this point. I think there's too many people in the Democratic Party who are going to do it. And frankly, if you have a Republican-controlled Senate and House, yes, it's better for a Democrat to push the TPP because they're not going to give Hillary trade either. They're going to follow the exact same strategy they followed with Obama, which is obstruct. So in the same dynamic that prevented Barack Obama from cutting Social Security benefits because the Republican Party wouldn't go along with him, and then ultimately the Democratic Party got strengthened and they completely changed their position.
Like, this whole thing, he's infuriating me. The fact that he's laughing about the shit when we literally have evidence for this. But let's go.
On it by 180 degrees. That is what I expect that dynamic to continue.
Yes, I remember when George Bush also proposed privatizing Social Security, and it was dead on arrival because...
Well, privatizing Social Security is far more extreme than simply cutting benefits.
Right.
But I'm in favor of expanding benefits, and the Democratic Party is now, that's the official position of the Democratic Party and all of the Democrats in the Senate.
Right. Did you know since Bernie endorsed her, Hillary stopped talking about climate change in her speeches?
Oh my God. He just totally went to a different subject. Because he knows what he's saying is being refuted. Refute. It's either switching to a different subject or it's motherfucking laughing about it like some fucking jack-off comedian.
Oh, she's exporting fracking around the world. She says the Republicans don't accept the science of climate change. She says she does. And we all know the science says that fracking is way worse for climate change than anyone believes. And yet here she is exporting it. So that's the kind of thing, the doublespeak, that people can't give their vote to. I can't give my vote to that, Sam.
So you're going to enable the guy who thinks that climate change is a hoax because you think that's going to get us further down the line.
No. I say it's time for a revolution, and we have to throw off the neoliberal agenda, which is pro-fracking, which is...
What the fuck do you mean time for a revolution? You're not going to be on those front lines. You're going to be sitting comfortably in Southern California, bitching and bloviating about, oh yeah, the corporate Dems. You're not going to be on those front lines. You can blend in. You don't have to fucking fight. Let's continue.
Anti-climate change and anti-science. And we are going to have to. Right now.
Do you think Donald Trump would have okayed the Keystone Pipeline?
Yes.
Me too. Do you think Donald
Yes,
Trump will do that when he gets into office?
Yes, I think he'll do all the
too.
bad things you can think of. I think
So
that.
why would you not even want
we had
to? Why would you not want to put someone in who's in position who is going to be relying on your votes to get reelected, who's going to have to address Bernie Sanders as a powerful senator in her own party? Why would you not want that person who is closer to, even if you think that she's a horrible human being who is going to continue to wreck the planet, and you and I maybe we agree on that. Why would you not want that person in charge, because they are accountable, more accountable to Bernie Sanders and Bill McKibben and to the Democrats in the House who are against these things than Donald Trump, who could give F all about those people and in fact benefits politically from telling them to go F off.
Right, and my reason is because I'm playing a longer game. I see that we have struck Trump.
How
for
much
2
time
years,
do you
and
think
then
we have?
I'm playing a longer game. Okay, cool. Let's hear that longer game.
2 years.
2 years?
2 years, and then 2 years we flip. And by the way, and people are forgetting, that they're going to be redoing the gerrymandering based on the.
Mind you, he said 2 years. Everything's 2 years to Jimmy Dore. Every plan he has is 2 years. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't plan for further out. No, that's the whole purpose of the Justice Democrat. But everything is 2 years to them. In 2 years, we're going to vote him out. In 2 years, we're going to do this. But he never thinks that he literally does a show every day where he has to keep up this motherfucking outrage. Like, did he think that he was the only one that's going to keep up this outrage? No, because he wasn't keeping up the outrage for 2 years straight. But let's continue.
Census that's coming up, right?
Why do you
So
think the
that's why we have-
Democrats are going to control the state houses?
No, they're not. That's what I'm saying. That what's happened is that when Barack Obama was president, that people vote against him. In midterm elections, it goes against the incumbency. So that's what.
But that's took 2
more
years.
often than not, but not in 2002.
Okay. So my point being that I don't think a Democratic presidency helps fix any of the problems we really need to fix. In fact, it makes a lot of them worse. And the Democrats got in bed with
So
Wall
let me
Street,
ask you
Sam.
this. If Bernie
And
Sanders
let me
was the
just-
nominee, Jimmy, would you continue to espouse this? Because, of course, this would mean the end of the Republican Party as we know it in the conservative movement. So would you also not vote if Bernie Sanders was the nominee?
No, because Bernie Sanders isn't a neoliberal. I'm saying that people don't realize what they're getting with Hillary is not the opposite.
But
of
your
Donald
theory,
Trump.
your theory of Donald Trump is that the reason why
He
you would
wants to
enable his
destroy the
presidency is
Republican
because it's
Party.
going to destroy the conservative movement. I mean, so why? And it's short term. I mean, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you espouse this if it's only going to be 2 years and we can weather the storm and the Democrats could? Why would you support Bernie Sanders?
Well, it's a risk assessment, right? So right now, if my choices are Donald Trump or neoliberal, warmongering Hillary Clinton in bed with Wall Street frackers and the big pharma, I'm going to say the risk. I'll take that risk. So
Wait. Donald Trump, would you have evidence in the primary that he said we should kill them and their families? Donald Trump, who hasn't met a deal that he can't make money off of, mostly illegally. You said this shit. We knew Donald Trump was. We knew who he was in 2016. At this time, Jimmy Dore was part of the Young Turks Network. And Cenk Uygur would actually do a segment every day called Loser Donald, where he highlighted Donald Trump's inadequacies, his stupidity, his poor and shady deals. But yeah, he was a better choice.
Of Donald Trump destroying the Republican Party. But if I get a real progressive that the country is behind and he can raise awareness and consciousness about what it means to be a real socialist, that we're the richest country the face of the earth has ever seen, and we can afford universal health care, and we can afford a college for everybody, and we can regulate Wall Street and have a good economy, I'll take that bet.
Jimmy Dore sounds like this little tirade that he's going on, like baby's first election. Like he sounds like those idealistic college kids who think, oh yeah, as soon as I put up this idea, then everybody's gonna fall behind it, and then it's gonna be great. That's how he sounds, with a little bit of jadedness because I hate Hillary Clinton. I hate this Democratic establishment. Not that let's minimize the harm for the people, everybody. No, let's do some accelerationism.
That's my risk assessment there. But if my risk assessment, my choices are Hillary and Donald, that's a different risk.
And so you have basically said that you've basically said that the Supreme Court is irrelevant in this assessment too, right?
No,
because let me just get this clear. Because the Democrats are going to filibuster for 2 years, then the Democrats are going to take over the Senate, and then they're going to continue to filibuster for another 2 years. And because of the collapse of the Republican Party, we're going to get a Democrat that you can support. Who might that be? Do you have an idea 4 years out who the Democrat you're going to support for president is? Or is it going to be Jill Stein?
I like Elizabeth Warren.
Okay, so you think Elizabeth Warren is going to run 4 years, and she's going to get elected, and then everything's going to be fine. That's the plan?
Sam,
now, mind you, Jimmy Dore is actually always quick to say who turns this and who turns that. The one person that he chooses for 4 years, or for 2020, is Elizabeth Warren, who literally played to all of the fucking shit that Hillary Clinton played to. She played to all, like, she even had a lot of Hillary Clinton's staff. She took over their staff. Like, oh God. This is taking forever, but let's go.
My plan is to filibuster any bad nominees that Donald Trump nominates, and we come to a compromise. Hey,
so
Merrick
you
Garland's
think the
our
Democrats
compromise.
can maintain a filibuster over the course of those 4 years if there's 2 vacancies or 3 vacancies?
You think that Donald Trump can keep nominating maniacs to the Supreme Court who isn't a compromised judge? Why can't we force him to nominate a compromised judge? Why wouldn't we put the pressure on him? By the way, you act like
I would
there
just
won't be
say
scandals.
Thomas,
There will be constant
Alito,
scandals,
Roberts.
constant scandals surrounding Donald Trump. He will be the most ineffective president. This whole idea that somehow he will be equal standing when he nominates someone to the Supreme Court is ridiculous. They're gonna rip him a new one every time he does something. He will be over scrutinized. Hillary won't be as scrutinized as
You're
him,
going to
and that's
have
why
a
I'm afraid of
Democratic
her.
Senate and Congress for 2 years. They're going to be able to pass every single piece of legislation they want.
You're saying
Republican.
in 2 years, well,
You're going to have a
saying
Republican
it's-
House, a Republican Senate, a Republican
for 2
president
years.
for 2 years.
For 2 years. Yeah, I know this is my risk assessment. My risk assessment is that when Donald Trump proposes crazy stuff, we can coalesce, we can block him. Also, the Democrats can filibuster horrible stuff in the Senate. I'm saying fight, don't give in.
Okay. Well, I mean, you've made your case.
It doesn't sound. I mean, Sam, I understand we disagree, and I could be wrong. I'm saying this is my risk.
No, Jimmy, you're wrong.
I don't think it's because I don't understand.
It is.
Because I don't
It is.
understand what's
It is.
going on.
It is because you
What
don't. Because the idea that Peter Thiel and Merrick Garland would rule the same and there would be no demonstrable difference is absurd. It's absurd, Jimmy. I'm sorry. It's absurd.
That's not. No.
So here's the thing, and this goes back to this is the reason why I'm bringing it up. This is the shit that I'm bringing up. And, like, they go back and forth for a while. But I want you guys to listen to this last little bit. Check it out.
See? You know it. Sam, this is about me being better looking, isn't it?
It's about Jimmy Dore.
I mean, listen. It's not funny to me, and that's the problem. Is that it is not funny to me. I think it's really dangerous. What is dangerous? That people vote their conscience? No. I think what's dangerous is, honestly, is using your platform and espousing fantastical notions that I think that could be really detrimental to the lives of literally millions of people.
Did you say this about MSNBC when they were pushing the Hillary Clinton candidacy?
Yeah.
Did you say that they were irresponsible?
Yeah. Well, I don't.
did?
I mean, I disagreed with them.
Yeah, but you didn't say they were just irresponsible and reckless and all that stuff to use their platform to tell people to vote for Hillary Clinton?
I don't watch it that often. The only show I
Okay.
watch is Hayes, and
All
I don't
right.
think he was doing that.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that if somehow if somebody disagrees with you to the left, they're irresponsible.
You're not
You're not to
disagreeing
the
with me
fucking
to the
left. He's not saying
You're not
vote for
disagreeing
somebody
with me.
else.
We're not
He's
disagreeing
saying let
on
Trump
ideology.
get elected.
We're disagreeing on the way politics works.
On
We're
tactics.
disagreeing
I'm
on
talking about-
tactics.
right.
Yeah.
Right, and the people who disagree with me gave us frickin' Hillary Clinton. Geniuses. Fucking geniuses, Sam. So anybody who's supporting someone who gave full-throated support to the Iraq War, I don't need your advice on how to vote.
Well, I'm not advising you on how to vote, Jimmy.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to anybody.
Well, I mean, but you can make this about, about your own personal affront that
this
you
is what it is
feel,
about.
and insults that you feel. But that's
I
not
do
what it's
feel
about.
It is insulting that anybody who is for somebody other than the main two parties you try to dismiss them or you try to marginalize them. Not you, but you also, yes, but the mainstream establishment press also does that. They've been, they're still calling Jill Stein. She's in bed with Putin now, and she's anti-vax. All this stuff. The same thing they did to Bernie. Bernie was a sexist. Bernie was a misogynist. It's just ridiculous, right? So you get to vote for a third party. That's what democracy is all about, Sam. You get to have a choice. And this idea that you can't vote
He sounds like a whining, petulant child.
for a third party until a lot of people are already voting for it is an F argument, okay? And there's a reason why we don't have
People
justice
can vote. People can vote. Nobody, listen. You're making the same argument that that right wingers make. Like you can't. You don't. You're trying to censor my speech. You can vote any way you want.
Yeah, Sam. Again,
You're
you
just.
haven't
I mean,
really
this
made
is
the
all.
argument.
This is all about some type of a personal affront, and I don't care. I don't care about anybody's feelings in this. I don't care if people feel
Right.
marginalized.
Right.
I don't care. It's not. That's not what this
Right.
is about.
Well, I know it's about that you feel like somebody who has a different political opinion. Everybody who's in the Green Party is reckless to you.
No, that's not.
No?
That's not the case.
Just me.
No, I don't think that you're reckless because of your support of the Green Party. I think you're reckless because of the way that you're articulating tactics and the idea that you're dismissive of the Supreme Court, and you're basically not providing any context for the plan that you have, that this is going to long-term work out well for people. I mean, just in the past 5 months, we've seen the importance of having even a split Supreme Court in terms of enfranchising hundreds of thousands of voters, in terms of maintaining the existence of public sector unions. I mean,
I agree, Sam. I agree with you on this. It's very important. The Supreme Court is so that's a straw man. I don't think it's not important. I think it is very important. And I laid out my strategy for how the Democrats could fight. Now, you lay out a strategy for how the Democrats could roll over. And that's just the difference between me and you. And I think yours is complacent. It's establishment.
how do you know on day one?
thinking.
How do you know on day one,
It's
Mitch
fear.
McConnell? Wait a second. How do you know
Fear.
on day one, Mitch McConnell won't change the rules to get rid of the filibuster for Supreme Court justice?
Wow.
Hey, how do you know on the first day Hillary won't bomb Syria with a nuclear weapon?
Well, all right.
How do you know?
I also don't know that the moon won't fall into Lake Michigan.
Right.
But you know what?
know-
I mean, honestly, Jimmy, to make those analogies, I think is indicative, and people can judge for themselves. People can judge for themselves. If people think that it is so far-fetched that Mitch McConnell will take the next step and get rid of filibusters or change the threshold for filibusters for Supreme Court nominees so that Donald Trump can get his nominee through, is the same as Hillary Clinton sending a nuclear weapon to Syria. If people genuinely think the chances of those are the same, they can assess that.
So every crazy, fearful.
So, and this is the thing. I'm done with this video. I'm done with this video. So, here's the thing. We see this. We saw what happened. people call Jimmy Dore out. So if you're a Jimmy Dore fan, I need you to understand. He doesn't have any tactics. He doesn't have any strategy. All he does is trying to make money off of you and your outrage. And here, let me just give you this clip. Michael Brooks said it best. Take me out, Michael.
Were able to seize on that. So intentionally saying, I'm going to take a situation. And by the way, this is not somebody who is saying in the middle of the country who's like, look, I've been fucked over by the political establishment. I've been abused by players on both sides, and I'm done. I'm through with it. I'm not voting. Or maybe I've been sucked in by the Trump scam. Or maybe I'm doing a protest vote. I have no judgment for those people. No comment. But if you're a political commentator sitting on your ass in LA who doesn't do basic research and is playing with people's lives because of a fantasy scenario in your head about what could be, that has been debunked through every step of this administration. Okay, here's what's happened. No, there wasn't a filibuster on the Supreme Court. Gorsuch is there. There's cases coming down that will radically deepen the war on organized labor in this country, on public sector unions. You think there's going to be any type of left without Labor Party power in this country? Without labor power? There's no left in the world that didn't have labor power. Now, did Democrats sell out labor and take corporate contributions? Absolutely. So your answer to a revanchist far right that's doing even more than any previous administration on labor is to go back into history and bitch about Democrats fucking up on that issue. What we on the actual left who care about actually achieving things are doing is fighting all of these fronts simultaneously. But actually, in fact, focusing now on the main threat. I said if you were in a swing state, vote for Hillary because I wanted to keep the main threat and the main problem be those fucking neoliberals and corporatists that we do have to defeat, not galloping fascists. But you know what? It's a good business model. Outrage is a good business model, and it's easy click content. Why figure out a Supreme Court ruling when you can endlessly bitch about an MSNBC segment? Why do strategy that points out that, of course, Obama had an obscene record on deportations, and Trump is worse, when you can do, 10 segments on how when Kamala Harris supported single payer, but she didn't say it with the right amount of enthusiasm. Dude, if you want to do politics, you got to fucking understand the issues. It's not all just emotions and fantasy life. Or if you want to do emotions and fantasy life, then own it and just do critique, and that's great. But don't call people who actually care about the process and bother to do some fucking research dummies because they look at things a little bit structurally. It's an easy hustle. It's an easy market. It's an easy game. But it's not contributing to anything. It's not going to help us win. And to me, it seems like, if anything, at this point, this is helping Trump. If we have to fight neoliberals, we have to fight Trump, we have to fight establishment Democrats, we have to deal with the corporate hegemony, we have to deal with ideological conformity of a global elite, do we really need to spend our time on YouTube just giving people dumb emotional releases? Or actually help them think about how they actually get power? And I know that that was spoken like a true fucking corporate sellout. The fuck out of here, man. Do some research. Get serious. And don't be a coward. You didn't mention my name. You haven't had Sam on your show. Engage.